Hi everyone, I'm Jeanette with Vivo Vintage Designs. Welcome to today's video. Today's video is about working on tile. So I want to show you a few tiles that I did in the past and the mistakes that I made in sealing them or not sealing them, and the difference between using the varnish and the UV protection and resin. All right, so before we get started, I want to remind you that all the products used will be listed in the description box along with the links. If you have any questions about the techniques you see me use in this video, just drop it in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Please, please, please like, comment, and consider subscribing. Your interaction with my channel is very helpful and greatly appreciated, and your support means a lot to me. Okay, now that that's out of the way, I'll show you this tile. This was the very first flower I ever did on tile. I didn't know about the KAMAR varnish or the UV protection. I didn't know very much about alcohol ink. So I did the flower. I thought it came out fantastic. I was so proud of it. So I came downstairs to see what I could find to seal it with, and I found polyacrylic I think it's called. And it's water-based, so I figured it would be fine with the alcohol. It wouldn't ruin the painting. Well, what happened was that it yellowed. It yellowed very quickly and very badly. So then I figured, well, maybe if I seal it with resin, that'll help. It did not. I mean, the tile is shiny, and I have a lot of imperfections. Again, this is when I first started, but I ruined my very first tile painting, which I was so pleased with. So make sure you use the KAMAR varnish and the UV protection. Now, this tile here, I did a long time ago after I found out about the UV protection and the KAMAR varnish. I did 3 coats of the KAMAR varnish and 3 coats of the UV protection. And I've had this tile for a few years now. It's not faded, it looks fine, it's not chipped or anything. It's held up really well. If you're only going to use the varnish and the UV protection, I would not use this as a coaster or a trivet. This is me personally. I would not use it because I don't know how much heat this can withstand, and I don't want to ruin it. I would use it as a display, put it on a small easel somewhere in my house. Now this one, I used 3 coats of the KAMAR varnish, 3 coats of the UV protection, and then I resined over it. And I'm sure you're getting the glare of my light ring, but I hope you can see how shiny this is. And this is also a couple of years old, and it's not faded or anything. Now let me show you what happens when you don't use enough varnish. I can't stress this enough. You need to use, I prefer to use at least 3 coats of the varnish, because if you don't put enough varnish over it and the whole surface is not covered, if you just do 1 light coat of the varnish and then you spray the UV protection over it, what happens is the alcohol in the UV protection will interact with your alcohol, with the alcohol ink, and ruin your painting. I really liked this painting. It was abstract, and I spent a lot of time creating all these little dots with different inks, and it was ruined immediately. So that's what happens if you don't have enough varnish on your tile, whether it's paper or tile. You have to make sure that you completely cover the surface. So if it makes you more comfortable doing 4 light coats of the varnish, then do that. Don't ever try to cover the entire surface with just 1 heavy coat, because that's not going to end well either. And now this is a tile that I painted forsythias on, and I did not seal it. I figured I would do it later on. And because I didn't seal it and I kept it on my desk, you can see there's splatters of pink ink on it, and the edges got worn and scratched. I should have sealed it when I did it, but I didn't. But the painting, I was actually really happy with this, but it's ruined now, so I will reuse this tile for something else. Okay, so today we're going to do a simple flower on this tile here. I've made sure to clean it with, it still has ink on it. with some alcohol, and I'll do one last wipe. And today I'm going to attempt to do the same tulips that I did in my previous video, but I want to do just one tulip in the center. So the color that I used before was the pink sherbet. I'm going to reuse that same color, and the PSI on my compressor is set at 20. So I want it to be low because I don't want to push all the ink off the tile. So I'm going to put down 1 drop, 2 drops of the ink and 1 of the alcohol, and then I'm going to go back and forth with the airbrush. Nothing difficult about that. And now I'm going to put down another drop and some more alcohol, and I'm going to repeat the process. Okay, I'm kind of happy with that. It's interesting. Now to create the stem, I'm going to use my dry palette. Let me find one with some good greens in it. And I'm going to take, you know what, I think I'll use a larger brush because the stem on a tulip is kind of thick. So if I use a smaller brush, it's going to be too narrow. So I'm picking up some, if you look on my palette, I have some greens on here. So I'm just reactivating those greens to do my stem. And if your bristles are not pointy when you pick up your ink, if they're if they go like this, just roll it on your paper towel and it should bring them together. Now I'm just going to create my stem. You know, I'm calling this a tulip. It doesn't have to be a tulip. It can just be a pretty flower, but it reminds me of those tulips with the frilly edges. So I'm just trying to thicken up my stem here. And now to create the leaves of the tulip, which you know are nice and long and broad, I'm going to use a bigger brush, and I believe that this one may be the equivalent of a size 6, but it doesn't have a number on it, so I'm not sure. And I want my leaves to be kind of bright, and because you can't see the bottom of the stem, I'm going to assume that it's about down here, so I'm going to come from this angle and bring it up. I'm going to pick up some more green because I want to make that a little bit thicker. That's pretty. This is so much easier on tile than it is on photo paper. And it's just very simple, but it's just so pretty. Make this one come behind. I'm going to pick up some more ink, and I'm going to go over that again. I just want to broaden the leaf a little bit. And then I'm going to try and use the tip of my brush to make that tip pointy, like that. How pretty is that? It's so simple, but so pretty. And it took me just a few minutes to do. Now, in the previous painting, I used a brush to add some splatter onto it, and I really like the way that looks, and I may attempt to do that here as well. But of course I can't leave well enough alone. That's bothering me, so I have to pick up some ink and fix this because it doesn't look right to me. Not that that made it any better, but at least it looks like it's the same stem, rather leaf. Okay, so now to splatter on this a little bit, I am going to use, where's the brush that I used before? Probably this one. I'm going to clean off the brush. I have a lot of green on there and I want pink splatter. So I'm going to put some ink on the brush, and I'm going to put a little bit of alcohol on the brush as well, and then I'm going to use another paintbrush to tap on to create a little bit of splatter. And be careful because you can definitely overdo it. If you use a toothbrush, you'll get finer splatter. It'll be kind of misty. But if you use a big brush like I'm doing, you're going to get big splatters. And if you tap lightly, they're smaller. If you tap harder, they're much bigger, as you can see. And now I'm going to clean off my brush again. And I think I want some green splatters. So I'm going to pick up some green from my dry palette. And then I'll put a little bit of alcohol on the brush. Dab some of it off, and then continue. And of course you don't have to do this part. If you like the way it looks, you can just leave it. But I think this makes it more fun. And see this one here? It's from the dirty alcohol that I had on the brush. So I don't like that one. I'm going to take some alcohol on the tip of a paper towel on my finger, and I'm just going to wipe it away. So there you go. How simple was that, and how pretty is it? It's so delicate looking, and again, 3 coats of the varnish, 3 coats of the UV protection, and you can put some resin over it, and you have a really pretty painting that took you all of 10 minutes to do. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.